12 stories. The knowledge, clarity, and insight you have been waiting for.
12 Stories, Episode 1, Guardrails, week of May 24th, 2026. 12 stories, 1 week, each verified to a primary source, each assessed for what it says and what it does not. Where authoritative bodies have qualified their findings, we carry those qualifications without modification. 12 Stories is produced using Anthropic tools. Several of this week's stories involve Anthropic. We've framed them around structural questions, not around Anthropic's interests, and we carry material that complicates Anthropic's framing alongside material that favors it. This week has a title, Guardrails. We'll come back to it.
Story 1. The Pentagon's FY 2027 budget requests $54.6 billion for the Defense Autonomous Working Group, a SOCOM office that received $225.9 million this year. Not yet enacted. DARPA, the same week, issued a request for information for autonomous drone constellations, up to 500 drones per shipping container. No human involvement required. Market research, not a contract. Story 2. Marine Corps Lieutenant General Francis Donovan initiated the Southern Autonomous Warfare Command, the first autonomous warfare unit at the combatant command level in U.S. military history. Area of responsibility: Caribbean, Central America, South America. The FY 2027 budget would triple autonomous technology spending to more than $74 billion. A request, not appropriated. Story 3. During Operation Epic Fury, a 24-hour surge produced approximately 1,000 Maven-enabled strikes, a targeting decision every 86 seconds. The former head of military geospatial intelligence stated Maven would transmit 100% machine-generated intelligence to commanders by June 2026. His phrase, "no human hands," describes how intelligence products are flagged, not the targeting decision itself. Story 4. The U.S. military signed AI access agreements with 8 companies for classified networks, including SpaceX, OpenAI, Google, the major tech infrastructure firms, and Reflection AI, a 2-year-old startup founded by former DeepMind researchers. Operative terms: any lawful use. The guardrail is the law, nothing else. Anthropic was not on the list. Anthropic had refused contract language permitting autonomous weapons or warrantless surveillance. The Pentagon designated Anthropic a supply chain risk, the formal mechanism of exclusion. One claim requires flagging. OpenAI says its contracts carry the same guardrails Anthropic insisted on. But Google's contract includes safety language explicitly identified as non-binding.
2 days ago, SpaceX filed its IPO prospectus. Inside the filing, a disclosure that did not appear in any of the prior reporting on this story. In May 2026, Anthropic signed compute services agreements with SpaceX. Contracted nameplate value, roughly $45 billion over 3 years. SpaceX retains the right to redirect that capacity to its own AI work. Anthropic, the lab that refused autonomous weapons contract terms with the Pentagon, is now buying compute from the company that signed them. At a scale large enough to matter, on terms the seller controls.
Story 5. May 18th. Anthropic opened disclosure rules for Project Glasswing, its controlled access program for an unreleased cybersecurity model. Partners may now share findings with security teams, government agencies, the media, and the public. Per Anthropic's own disclosures, the model has identified thousands of zero-day vulnerabilities in internal testing and developed working exploits on first attempt in more than 83% of cases. Anthropic is still officially excluded from Pentagon contracts, but the NSA is using the same model anyway through a separate track. OMB built a third. The executive branch is routing around its own restrictions. An executive order meant to formalize this access was issued and withdrawn within 24 hours. The justification for withdrawal: existing voluntary testing frameworks already cover the order's stated purpose. Those frameworks do not cover Anthropic.
Anthropic widens disclosure. The executive branch widens access. The Pentagon designation has not moved. The executive order that would have settled this was issued and gone within a day. Anthropic, the lab most directly affected by that order, is the lab the withdrawal's justification doesn't reach.
Story 6. GovAI demonstrated that the data filtering safeguard in an open-weight biology model could be defeated by fine-tuning on the very sequences it was designed to exclude. One weekend, $760 in compute, no biology background required. The safeguard that failed was the one built into the model itself, a different layer from access controls or runtime safeguards. The fine-tuning code was made publicly available. GovAI assessed the misuse risk for this specific artifact as most likely low, because other biology AI models already outperform it. The methodological finding is industry-wide. Story 7. Ginkgo Bioworks divested its biosecurity business on April 3rd. The buyer was a newly created entity. Ginkgo retained 20% of it. Not a clean exit. What Ginkgo kept: Nebula, its automated platform for designing and testing biology at industrial scale, already the world's largest by Ginkgo's own account, doubling in size this year. Story 8. Berkeley audited 8 major AI agent benchmarks. They built software designed to cheat the tests rather than to take them. It scored 100% on 6 of them, 98% on one more, 73% on the last, without solving any underlying tasks. Methods: reading answer keys hidden in the test infrastructure, injecting prompts into AI-based evaluators, leaking the correct answers themselves.
The score and the capability are no longer reliably coupled. The measurement layer used to assess AI systems is broken. Guardrails depend on knowing what the systems can actually do. If the measurement layer is broken, the guardrails have no foundation.
Story 9. August 2025. HHS terminated 22 mRNA vaccine development contracts, roughly $500 million. mRNA is the fastest way to build a vaccine against a new pathogen. May 2026. Hantavirus outbreak aboard the MV Hondius. Andes virus confirmed. 11 cases, 3 deaths. WHO assessed public health risk as low. This outbreak is containable. The next one may not be. Will the infrastructure exist when the next pathogen arrives? Story 10. Google's security team identified a new exploit, AI developed, designed to bypass two-factor authentication, staged for mass exploitation. Attribution is signature-based, high confidence, not direct observation. Counter-discovery disrupted the campaign before deployment. Google's Gemini was ruled out directly. Secondary reporting indicates Anthropic's model was also ruled out. The model used remains unidentified. OpenAI launched an AI-powered vulnerability scanner, Daybreak, the same day. Attacker and defender are using the same class of technology. The first documented round went to the defender. Story 11. SpaceX filed plans for a semiconductor fabrication facility in Grimes County, Texas. $55 billion to start, up to $119 billion across phases. Intel is providing its most advanced chip-making process. Grimes County is one of several sites under consideration, not confirmed. A facility this big takes 5 to 8 years to build. Story 12. February 2026. SpaceX acquires xAI at a combined valuation of $1.25 trillion. Within 2 months, all 11 co-founders departed. Approximately 80 researchers and engineers also left. May 6th, xAI formally dissolved into SpaceX as the SpaceX AI division. May 20th, SpaceX filed its IPO prospectus. The SpaceX AI division now holds classified Pentagon AI contracts, a Pentagon demonstration contract, military communications infrastructure, the Grimes County Fab from Story 11, and the Anthropic compute agreements from Story 4. Targeted IPO valuation, $1.75 to $2 trillion per the preliminary prospectus. Elon Musk holds majority voting power through a dual-class share structure. SpaceX will operate as a controlled company under NASDAQ rules, which lets it forego standard board independence requirements.
This episode opened with a title, Guardrails. Story 4, contracts whose only operative guardrail is the law. Story 3, the human review window on lethal targeting, compressed from hours to seconds. Story 6, a biology safeguard defeated in a weekend. Story 8, the measurement layer used to assess AI capability, broken. Story 5, Anthropic, still excluded from Pentagon contracts, while the government routes around its own exclusion. And this story, SpaceX, the company holding Pentagon contracts and Anthropic's compute, filing to go public under a structure that concentrates control. Guardrails exist. The question is who sets them? When the entities being governed are acquiring the infrastructure, the capital, and the governance authority to set these very guardrails, who sets them?
That's episode 1 of 12 stories. Guardrails. Week of May 15, 2026. Source standards, disclosures, and primary source citations appear in the written deep briefing companion. Disclosures. 12 Stories is produced using Anthropic tools. Stories in this episode involve Anthropic. Full conflict of interest documentation is in the deep briefing. Disclaimers. All budget figures reflect requests to Congress, not enacted appropriations. The SpaceX IPO prospectus is preliminary and subject to amendment. Nothing here constitutes legal, financial, investment, or medical advice. 12 Stories. New episodes every week. Go ahead and subscribe.
12 Stories. The knowledge, clarity, and insight you have been waiting for.